Welcome to United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America on WSGW. Now, here is your host, Kareem Bowen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America. I am so glad that spring is starting to spring, or spring has sprung, however we say that. But the weather is beginning to change, and I am all for it. I'm in the studio today, myself and my producer, John, being the place to be. You won't be able to see him because he's in his God bag where you only hear his voice but never see him. How you doing today, John B?
Hello.
John and I were just talking about surviving the evening with sirens and storms and flooding and all of that thing going on. If you're out there and you're listening and you know what we're talking about, I'm just blessed to be above water on today because it's been crazy. Jonathan, new homeowner, how are you doing and how did you fare last night with all the storms?
Well, at the time of people listening to this on the radio, this will be Tuesday night, the big storms that blew through and all that. But no, I woke up to an alarm from my phone, and then
Wow.
I wake up to the alarm from the phone, and then I'll go, okay, do the sirens go off here, though? Do I need to get up and get out of bed? And then the sirens went off, so I went to bed, or went downstairs.
I was going to say the sirens.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
So I went downstairs. They stopped, so I went back up, went to bed. Sirens started up again, went back downstairs.
Yeah, it was crazy. But, you know, I love the thunder and lightning, but I was a little bit unnerved on last night because it's been a long time. I must have been a kid since I've seen so much rain come down so hard, so fast. Then also sirens. You know, we used to do the little, the tornado drills and warnings where we'd all go in the hallway and sit in Indian style facing the lockers or whatever.
I don't think you can say that anymore, Kareem.
What's that?
Indian style.
I mean, that's what they called it at the time. I'm referencing back in Native American style. What do we call it? Indigenous people style. Yeah, I want all the kids to come in. We're going to get in a big circle. We're going to sit in indigenous people style, and we're going to play duck, duck, goose. It just doesn't roll off the tongue the same way. But it's been a long time since I've had all of those things going on. It was a bit unnerving because the rain was real. As a matter of fact, it's been a couple of days like that. I feel like we're hitting into the Noah Ark syndrome of things. But hey, it is warm outside. It was a warm rain. I'm hoping we can hold on to this. Temperatures don't say that we're going to do that, but we're going to see what happens. We are in the great Midwest. Shout out to everybody who's out there who's listening in at WSGW 100.5 FM or 790 AM. We certainly thank you for tuning in each week for USG, United Shades of Gray, here at our program. And so we're excited to be here. This is, we have been talking about Connoisseur Media, the new name of the show, the new place that the show is anchored on. And you can get this show and all other shows of this context that fall under the volume. Where, Jonathan, where can they get it?
You can find United Shades of Gray, Mi Gente on Air, Max Loves Midland, That's What She Said, and many more at WSGW.com. Click on podcasts. You can find them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible. Some of them are on YouTube. All over the place.
Do you know why I'm laughing?
No.
Because for a second, I felt like I was going to say Bob Barker, but Bob is no longer there. It's Drew Carey now.
Oh.
And the price is right. Tell them what we got for these prices. And you came in with that information. But it's good to have everyone out there. Today, we're going to talk about engaging divide and racial conversations. And I was planning that conversation. And then in having that conversation and thinking through it in my mind, I thought to myself, wow, I really want to have a conversation. Many of you that listen to this show on WSCW, a lot of the things are like, why do you always talk about race? You know, and I've also been called a racist by some of the things and thoughts. And so, and I appreciate your comments and your concerns, even if, you know, I don't embrace what you say. I appreciate the fact that you have an opinion and that you have a thought. But I thought that it would be interesting to bring in a couple of people who are a part of really breaking down real barriers of our conversation. And we're going to bring them in right now. Those individuals are Frank Sanders and Michael Peterson. If you're watching via your social media platform, the guy that looks like a middle-aged Daniel Boone with the long beard or the gnome king. No, is Mike Peterson, Minister Mike Peterson, or Elder Mike Peterson, Pastor Mike Peterson is what I call him. And Pastor Mike, why don't you just really give yourself or give the people, the audience that are listening, a quick introduction as to who you are and what you do.
So my name is Mike Peterson, apparently the gnome. That's a new one. And by the way, it's called crisscross applesauce, not Indian style anymore. Just
Got
thought
it.
I'd let you know that. So I work for InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. I'm a campus minister with them, and I've been at Delta and SVSU for quite a while. Like 18 years now, I think I've been doing this. But I live in Midland, not far away. Um, Kareem and I have been working together for what's it been a dozen more years now. I think.
Yeah, about 13
Yeah,
years, 12, 13
yeah,
years.
it's been a while. Yeah.
So it's good to have Mike here. I always refer to Mike, to folks, as my brother from another mother, because you see that we are not twins, not
No.
even fraternal, but we have such an amazing relationship, and we work together on campus at SVSU with Impact Campus Ministry. How appropriate! I wore a branded shirt, and we've been doing that for 12, 13 years, making real impact on campus, spreading the love of Christ, teaching, sharing, and engaging. And that is my partner in purpose as we do that. And then the other young looking fella that's there, who is in the stream if you're out there, but you're going to hear him on the radio, is Minister Frank Sanders. He operates as the campus ministry out at Impact. Impact is kind of like an extension of the Potter's Church Ministries. It's a part of what we do when we're doing evangelism. And so we've been doing this for 12, 13 years. Frank initially came in as a student from a different organization that we're working on campus. And then when we formulated Impact, he came in and he is now the leader. He and his wonderful wife, Trina Sanders, who also met at Impact and also are now married, and they're creating Impact babies. Frank, welcome to United Shades of Gray.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And so, Frank, why don't you share a little bit about what this whole thing is? Because we're going to talk about engaging the divide and racial conversations. And the thing that makes this conversation interesting to me, because I never thought about it, what we are doing on campus with Impact Campus Ministry makes it probably the most diverse religious gathering that takes place in the Great Lakes Bay region. Much of the area. But go ahead. Why don't you share what we do out at campus, Minister Frank?
So yeah, I mean, we've been doing campus ministry, as you mentioned, for 13 years. And I mean, really, we make sure that the focus and the attention is on Jesus. And so we share a very consistent, a very basic Bible message, very simple. And we welcome everybody. I would say culturally, we're probably, we service, pretty much everybody. We serve, multiple different demographics. But we've had one of the things I didn't even think you mentioned is we have a good contingency of international students. So
Yes.
Students that are from Ghana and from India, and we've had students from Pakistan, and pretty much from all over that come in and they feel comfortable. But we just create an environment where people feel loved. We greet everybody that comes in. We minister. We spend time getting to know the folks. And, we don't focus on the racial divides. Really focus on the things that unite us. And it's been interesting that we've had the diverse impact that we've had, right? Because one of the things that we noticed at Saginaw Valley's campus is that there weren't any ministries that actually ministered or catered to African American students, and so Impact was that ministry. But in doing so, what we saw is that other students were coming in, joining, and they loved the culture that we were building at Impact, and so now Impact has become this multi-ethnic, ultra diverse body of hundreds of students that we get that come in every week.
Yeah, it is really amazing. I want to back up just a little bit because you really took us to where I think the conversation needs to start. But I want to just kind of talk a little bit about how this formulation came, because we always talk about how Sunday mornings are the most divided time racially, racially segregated time on of the week, right? Everyone goes to their church that looks like them, that ministers the way that they want it to be, and we do our own things. What we see at Impact is so super different. But let's talk about how it started, Mike. Mike is, and Mike, you share what exactly your role is with InterVarsity Christian Fellowship.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'll let you go.
Okay. So I'm a campus minister. So I help students grow and walk and grow in their faith and build community. Um, Studies, outreach, pastoral counseling. Do a lot to help to develop them as potential leaders for the church, for the organization, and their community. A lot of times I help with helping plan and develop small group Bible studies, how to do that. There's a lot of different things I do, but
Mike, I want to take a second. I want you to share how this came to be from your perspective.
oh,
The whole
okay,
the whole merging together of what was
yeah.
taking place.
So yeah, this is a while ago now, but yeah, I was walking around SVSU with my supervisor, and we were prayer walking, and we saw a flyer, and the flyer had your face on it. No, no, it said impact. It didn't have your face on it, but it had your name. And Fred, my supervisor, was like, I know him, and he's like, you need to reach out to him and talk to him because you guys had just impact had been going that semester. That was the fall semester, um, and then I had a couple students here at Delta that had, man, you need to reach out to this pastor. He's got this new church, and he's talking. I've heard him mention InterVarsity and campus ministry. You need to reach out to him. And so both times we were talking about you. And so we connected. We were talking, and I think at one point we were talking about how we could build both InterVarsity and Impact. How we could, share leaders and do all this stuff. And just kind of looking across the table at each other and said, "Why don't we work together?"
Yeah.
It just seemed kind of silly organizations, and it's been a journey since, man, up
It
and down, and it's been great actually.
it is an amazing testament to how when God really wants something to happen, how he brings those things together.
Mhm.
I was at Michigan State from 1990 to 1995 as an undergrad. It seems like forever, right? But back in the 1900s, when we were whipping that horse and buggy, no, but I was at campus during that period of time, and I officially left in '98 after going back in '96, right? But I was out there, and in '90, the end of my freshman year, I ran into this organization. Pastor Stan Parker had an organization called Just for Christ, and it was, a group of black students that were having Bible study. And Stan Parker had recently gotten connected with InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, and so they had a crazy idea. Hey, why don't we InterVarsity, which is largely all white, partnering with Just for Christ, which was definitely all black. Why don't we have some engagement? So we did some services together. We connected together. We did some worship things together where we came and we did worship the way that Ivy did it, which I refer to as white folks worship. And then we did some worship the way that black people did it, which we call gospel music. No, I'm just joking. Black folks worship, and we did it together, and we had such an amazing time. And what we learned through that worship experience really changed a lot, because what I realized is that we sang a lot of the same songs. My white brothers and sisters did it on the 1 and 3, and the black folks was doing it on the 2 and 4. But it was the same stuff, and so we started this fellowship together, and then we did an official partnership, Just for Christ, JFC, and InterVarsity at that time when I was my sophomore year. And with that partnership, Ivy provided such amazing training and opportunities for leadership development and growth. I went to Jamaica through a jump program, which was Jamaican University Multicultural Program, where we went over to Jamaica, to Kingston, not to the sandy beaches, but to Kingston, which is really third world, if you could imagine that being. And we did mission programs, and with the University of West Indies and University of Technology, and that kind of stuck with me. So after leaving, and this crazy thing, Mike and one of the guys that I went to Jamaica with, who is now one of the leaders of the organization, walking through the halls and says, "I know that guy." And so was it Fred Bailey, right? Was it Fred
Yep.
Bailey?
Yeah.
And so we had this meeting and we were talking all this stuff you're saying. And we're like, listen, why are we going to do something separate? Let's try to do something very different and bring it together and make it happen. So Mike, let's share. I want you to take a moment to just kind of share of some of the impact. I know you're the statistics guy. You're giving out numbers. You're doing all of the newsletters and sharing this information, both with the Great Lakes Bay region as well as with university. So why don't you share some of the impact that's been taking place?
I was thinking about this when I was walking out of my car. Like, how many people have made professions of faith in the 12 years we've been doing this? It's in the hundreds. I can't tell you exact number, but I know in the last 2.5 years we've had 88 professions of faith. People making the first time adult commitment to Christ as their Lord and Savior. I mean, that's huge. But then that's years out of 12, and we're having right now we're averaging 100 students at our large group meeting, over 100 students, and I mean it's so diverse now. It's breathtaking. I remember when it was just me and Josh, were the only light-skinned people in the room. You know, Soccer
And Mike,
Josh.
and so Mike, I forgot about Jack, but let's say that let's talk about this, Mike. I think it's important because as we talk about race and our faith. I don't say religion. I'm not a religious person. I believe religion is what man does for man, but relationship is what God does for man. So when we talk about relation, like our faith and race, when we set out, Frank, 12, 13 years ago to do this, we had already been operating on campus with another organization. And I told them, like, look, this is where God wants to go. And I think either you get on board or you don't exist because he's going to suck up the oxygen in the room. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about what we targeted. What was our focus as we didn't set out to create this super diverse organization of believers. We set out to just talk to Black and athletes.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, as you talk about that, I mean, at Saginaw Valley, I mean, you had organizations. There were already Christian organizations that folks could go to, but none of them. You talked about like how the different program that you were a part of, and one group, you had a different style of worship, you had a different style of engagement. There was likely a different style of teaching, same gospel message, but different styles of teaching. And it's interesting. You look at Saginaw Valley's campus. I mean, it's pretty much one size fits all. And there was a demographic that really wasn't being ministered to. And so when you talk about when we set up and Impact was started, it was really targeting that demographic, right? Athletes, and we had Black and brown students, right? And it's interesting, when we set out the target, even though folks occasionally there will be sprinkles that would come in, right? From Mike, you said you and Josh were the only two people at some point, but
I can't believe you referred to him as sprinkles, but okay.
I mean, that's you would come in, but the reality is we would make sure that everyone felt comfortable and felt safe. It was a safe family environment. So we recognized that there was sometimes like, I don't know if I feel comfortable being the only white person in the room. Now the Black people, we have a lot of experience being the only Black person in the room. But what we found is that for our light-skinned counterparts, they didn't always feel comfortable being the only white person in the room. And so we would intentionally make sure that folks felt comfortable, folks felt loved, and just really presenting impact and really embodying vision of impact, which is to be a family and a place where folks from all different lives can come in, but with the focus of ministering to this group, recognizing that there is a gap and a need for what's taking place on campus.
I think it's powerful. Mike, I'm going to throw it to you real quick. You got about a minute and a half. I want you to share about your own insecurities being in that space where you were the only white guy in here and you're supposed to impact black students. Let's talk about it.
Oh my! And the first couple years, it was it was so odd for me because I'm used to being the majority culture, and to be the minority in the room, and to not understand. I mean, how many times? And Frank could answer this question. How many times did I say, "Imagine you were talking to well, I didn't say uneducated, but uninformed white guy." Or somebody that didn't understand that because like words like crispy or stuff like that, I didn't know what they meant. So just asking questions and just being genuine, like I don't understand. Help me understand. But but I had to get past that pride part of like I know everything. I don't, and it was like it was there was some shock to the system at times, especially the difference between white culture and black culture and student culture and being a veteran and stuff like that. There's different things. Learning the differences were at times painful, but rewarding at the same time too, because I get to see how great our God is, but how diverse we are.
All right, Mike, we're
love
gonna put a pin right there. I'm gonna have you come back. We're gonna continue to talk about the comfortable lists that must take place to continue to bridge the gap between the races. We're gonna take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more United Shades of Gray.
You're listening to United Shades of Gray on WSGW.
All right, we're back. This is Kareem, and you're here with United Shades of Gray. I have in the social media stream with me on the line Minister Frank Sanders, who is our lead minister out at Impact Campus Ministry at Saginaw Valley State University, and our other lead minister, Mike Peterson, our partner in purpose, representing InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. Mike, before we went to the commercial break, you were talking about how uncomfortable it was. And I remember us having these conversations. You're like, Kareem, I think I'm a cornball. I don't think they like me. They don't understand. And I said, Mike, do you remember these conversations, Mike?
Yeah, I think I called myself a hick a few times. And, it's just, I remember these conversations.
But I remember those times, and I remember saying to you, and that's, what's interesting is that we can look very different, come from very different places, but we have the same issues. And I remember one of the issues that the three of us really learned to connect around, and it just happened in a conversation. I think, Mike, you began to share your story of how your father wasn't present in your life. And Frank and I had a very interesting situation. And we realized that what united us was much stronger and greater than what separated us. And I remember saying to you, Mike, all you have to do is be authentically white. So to all my white folks out there, please, you don't have to be a brother to talk to the brothers and sisters. You don't have to learn all of the language and the colloquialisms and all of that stuff. Just be white. We appreciate white folks being white folks and coming in with a loving heart. And that sounds crazy. But Mike, is that not what I told you?
Yeah, you told me multiple times, just be you.
Yeah.
Don't try to be what you're not. So if I'm uninformed, ask questions. If I stumble over stuff, well, I'm going to. But just be me. Yeah.
So Mike, as we model this conversation, I think that's really what we're doing. We're showing how if we can come together in things like faith, we can do that in other areas, right? When did you realize that being the only black man, being the token white guy in the room, no, I'm just joking, being the only white guy in the room did not exclude you from making an impact? When did you really feel wait a minute, I'm accepted among this group. I'm a part of this group. I'm able to make an impact.
I think actually it was after I shared my testimony when I talked about, my father leaving when I was before I was born, actually, while I was in the womb, and talking about growing up in that. I had students start talking to me that wouldn't, and I really felt like I was connected, but and connecting with students, and then getting to know players on the football team, and spending time being, just doing the office hours, spending time with people. Um, it just felt normal, if that makes any sense. Um,
And I think, when we talk about diversity, we'll always hear this from the other side, right? Diversity makes things better. We have, a more diverse population, we have more unique ideas. And like, you brought something to the table. And Frank, I want you to kind of talk about some of the things that Mike brought to the table. I think that we were really good in engaging and connecting and providing a space for Black students to come in. But some of the training and some of the teachings that Mike brought from his time with InterVarsity, what are the proxies and those things, share
Yeah.
how that collaborative effort really paid off.
Yeah, so when we got together, InterVarsity obviously, and there's financial resourcing behind it, but when we were able to do different opportunities to evangelize, like the Red Pride picnic, or any of these other SVSU events, Mike was able to bring in his skill set, his know-how in setting up proxy stations. What is a proxy station? It's not something that I was exposed to, pre Mike, but it's an opportunity for you to engage with students and ultimately have an opportunity to engage with them and minister to them and share the gospel, right? Mike brought a ton of resources from InterVarsity, as far as Bibles, for example, things that we take for granted that are simple but are huge blessings. And I can't tell you how many times I show up on campus and I see those InterVarsity Bibles in students. I know that you got that from Pastor Mike. To even just the trainings, right? Like up until recently, Mike has been, the major resource for small group training. So teaching students on how to lead a small group. Obviously, InterVarsity has a very different way of sharing or leading small groups than like what we've typically done. I'll say through the Potter's Touch, but it's been really effective and students really enjoy it. And when we didn't do it, the students were like, "Hey, when can we get back to small groups?" To just the availability and the counseling piece that Mike provides, right? So as far as the office hours, Mike is the quintessential faithful office hour leader, right? So when the students come, they have different needs that they have different things that they're going through. And, I can even kind of put or quantify the amount of impact that Mike has had as far as counseling the students with different things. I mean, you and I do it, we all do it. We're part of ministry. We talk to students that are dealing with crazy situations, right? Things that they don't open up to other people about, and they entrust us with that. And Mike has a very systematic process and a way that he goes through to listen, to counsel, and encourage. And I think a lot of the reason a lot of these students are really still in the faith has been because of the effort that Mike puts forth as far as being able to counsel and really lean in with discipleship, right? You talk about the resources. InterVarsity comes with, hey, this is our discipleship track. This is what discipleship looks like. Let me put something in your hand. It's not just the conversation, but it's also the financial piece and the backing and the resources that are necessary in order for ministry to thrive.
And then also it's the conferences. So they do a series of conferences.
Yep.
I went to Urbana, and Urbana literally changed my life. And I would have never had such an experience where you go in and there's 40,000 college students that are worshiping, and many of them signing up to do missions trips that weekend. I was like, Black folks ain't doing that. We got to go home. We got to talk to mom and grandmom and them. We got to pray about it before we just sign up. But them white folks was like signing up them young people and going on mission trips directly from Urbana during New Year's Eve. I thought that was crazy, but it was exciting and inspiring. Mike, I want to kind of change just really. We only got 15 minutes. This time goes by so fast. We were able to, when we talk about conversations of race, we were able and blessed, I say, to be able to navigate this entire body. We're averaging, Mike said averaging 100. But sometimes we come in, there's 135, 137 students that meet us every single Tuesday. And the population is 50-50, 60-40, white to black, any given week. We were blessed to be able to navigate 100 and say 200 students that we might have based upon their class schedule through this entire Charlie Kirk situation, the death of Charlie, what Charlie meant to some, what he meant to other folks in a very diverse population. What do you think about, and how do you feel about how we were able to navigate that?
You asking me or Frank?
Yeah, I'm asking you, Mike.
Oh, okay. That was it wasn't near as intense as I thought it would be. We talked about it a lot during office hours
Yeah.
with students, and the fun I know in office hours, if there's 20 students that show up, 15 of them are going to be males,
Yeah.
and of that, there's mostly black men. So the conversation is going to be may not be the same as what it would be when talking about Charlie Kirk, but we had honest conversations. Who is this guy? What was he saying? What is the gospel? Is it good, bad? I mean, we just had a lot of conversations on it at office hours, but I never heard anything from students that were, oh, pro or against, or I just never heard the stuff that I saw on social media. I just never saw that on campus.
Yeah.
With our group, at least.
Yeah.
People were sad that a man had lost his life, a father and a husband, and someone who professed Christ. So there was sadness over that.
What about you, Frank? Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I remember, and actually, it was a lesson that you taught and you shared, and I thought it was very impactful because, like, a lot of the black people really didn't understand. Like, full transparency, I really didn't have an appreciation for who Charlie Kirk was before, the assassination and all the things that took place. I may have seen a couple videos of arguments going back and forth and some controversial, reels and things like that, but I didn't really understand who he was. And I think, it was interesting. You had a group of people who really didn't like understand or know who this person was. Then you had a contingency of folks that were following, like, oh my gosh, this is like almost like our savior. He stands for everything that we stand for, and we're all in the room. And then when people, when he passed or was assassinated, you had people that were like, wow, man, this dude was really talking all this craziness. And then there was like this, unspoken kind of like tension. But like for the black people, I know personally, it wasn't as near and dear to me because he wasn't somebody that I followed or pursued or followed after. But I think back to that message that you shared, and you really talked about how the enemy's desire is to divide. And he looks to steal, to kill, to destroy, right? And you really focused on like, okay, what are we here for? Who are we serving? What is the most important thing? And you delivered a profound message. And I'm trying to go back to what you talked about, but it was really, it talked about, hey, we can be divided by all of this other stuff and all of these different things. But in reality, this is what the gospel message is. This is what's most important. And at the end of the day, we are who we have. We are a family. We should not, and we will not allow the things that are taking place in the world to break up what it is that God is doing in this situation and in this season and in this ministry, and to cause us to take our eyes off of Jesus, to be more focused on internet personalities, to be more focused on the things that divide us than the things that actually are meaningful and purposeful. And so you delivered that message. And it's been a while since that time. We were actually in a different room, but I had heard testimonies from students that were like, man, I really needed that. Right? We had students that were, one of the students was a president from Turning Point USA. The Saginaw Valley representative. And what you shared was a straight up gospel message. It was, this is what the gospel is, this is what the gospel is not, and this is what it means for us to be a believer. And when you shared that, you heard the testimony. I don't know if you had an opportunity to share that on the show, but it was very powerful. And talking and making sure that you keep the main thing, that we don't get so caught up on personalities and who's believing this, who's saying this, and we focus on the main thing, which is Christ, him crucified and him resurrected.
Yeah, no. Go ahead, Mike.
I almost forgot about this. The message was on unity.
Yeah.
I remember you talking about unity, and the thing that I remember the most about that particular night, that Tuesday night, was everybody holding hands and praying, sitting down, and there was people hugging. The point of the thing that's uniting us is far more important than what divides us, and the response of the students. I'd almost forgotten about that. That was a powerful night.
You know, Mike, in that moment, and I'm so thankful. It's saying something about rebooting the system or something. In that moment, I was so thankful for the partnership and the relationship that we had. It was a real challenging moment. I think understanding and being, to Frank's point, like Charlie, I didn't agree with half of the things that he said. And I've had, and even on this show, my producer and my co-host, we were sitting there and we've had very strong disagreements. But when it comes to sharing faith and when it comes to where we are as people, I think that we sometimes have to get out of our emotions and we have to focus on the things that unite us. Now, we could have been protagonists to something that really just divided because the world was so divided in that moment. And so this is what I say as we talk about how do we overcome these racial barriers that often exist. You focus on what unites us. And when we think about who Christ is, when we think about what his desire is, it is bigger than a race. It is bigger than any religious sect or group. And so we have to focus on and it is the love that exists. And I think that was the challenge, to allow love to lead first. And I say this because we're in a place right now where there are so many things that are being talked about as what Christian faith is, what it means to be a believer. And so much of it is divisive and not really driving us to love. And I remember that young lady who was the president of Turning Point on campus coming up to me after and saying, Pastor, I am so thankful for the message that you gave, and how you gave it, how you challenged us to lead with love. And I think that as we have these conversations, these challenging conversations, that we really have to, first of all, make sure that our humanity is in place and that we see the other person fully for who they are, embracing everything that they are different, but also taking a moment to really look at and center in on what unites us. And I think that when we get to that, we'll find that we can have a conversation about the most difficult things if we're willing to make sure that everyone is being heard, being seen, and being appreciated for what they are or what they are not. And so it's an amazing time for us. So I think it's really different because people will hear me on United Shades, and when we have these conversations here, my purpose is to really challenge people in the spaces that they are. If we were to be honest, and I'm going to ask Jonathan to respond to this, I would say that most people in the world, the majority of us are kind of either left of center or right of center.
Yeah, I'd say yes.
And so, but he said, yeah, I'll say yes. But what we often focus in on are the fringes, those who are all the way right.
Well, they're the loud people.
And so when we have these conversations and we do this, Jonathan, and we've done it before, how have you been able to recover? Sometimes we have conversations and our feelings are injured. We may feel a particular way. How have you been able to come back each week, reset, and continue these conversations?
Because we're both human beings and we both have differing opinions and differing views on things, but like leading with forgiveness and leading with trying to understand is just the best way to have any sort of dialogue.
And one of the things is being willing to say I'm sorry. I mean, if your desire or your hope is to gain understanding or to be understood, then we have to be willing to apologize. And I've come in with a number of apologies when we've crossed the border or when we've injured someone in these conversations. Mike, when you think about the impact that's taking place at Impact SVSU Tuesday nights at 7 p.m., shameless plug, what are the things that you're hearing from the white community about what they're seeing in terms of this super uber diverse group of people, black, white, international, athletes? What are you hearing?
Oh, I hear a lot of praise. One, and like churches have wanted to come alongside and help. People are impressed that we're not, that it's not as divided as they hear on the news or in the social media world. They, I just hear a lot of, man, I'm glad you're doing this. Um, there's a lot of appreciation. What I'm hearing from, especially in Midland. I mean, Midland's a predominantly white community, and to hear about what we're doing at SVSU, people are excited about it. They're excited to hear that politics is not getting in the way of people growing in their faith.
Yeah,
and I think coming at it from a position of faith, that's the role of the Holy Spirit, is to gather and unite people in the body of Christ. And you look at places where the Holy Spirit has not been permitted to work, and that's where you see a lot of this division.
I think you said it best. Many people will profess to be Christians, and Christians is a religious division of people, right? But when we say that we're believers, it means that we allow space for Holy Spirit to move. Jonathan, that was a wonderful point. And when Holy Spirit has an opportunity to move, then our hearts have the ability to be impacted and changed. I know, Mike, you and I have had some very strong conversations about things. And what I love about our friendship, and I don't want to say friendship, it is a brotherhood. We could not look more different than we are, but one thing that we share is a true desire and love for one another. I know every member of your family, your children. I've watched them grow up before our eyes over the years. Your wife and everyone else. You have been to my church. You've been a part of the family. You've been to the cookout, macaroni and cheese, green. I mean, you've been a part of it. As a matter of fact, we have coming up a unified baptism service. And Mike, you and Minister Frank baptize these college students together. And so I'm very thankful for that. We only have about a minute left. Mike, I just want you to share, how can people reach out to you? Because a part of what you do and the work you do is funded work through InterVarsity. Share how people can contact you. Got about 50 seconds.
You can contact me Mike.Peterson, that's PETRSEN, at intervarsity.org. That's my email. You can call me text me at 989-859-4300. Love to hear from you. Yeah, just love
All
to
right.
hear from people. Love to
And
talk
Mike,
to them.
what is our Frank? What is our social handles on? I think IG.
It's Impact SVSU.
And so you can catch us there on our socials. Reach out to Peterson there. You can always catch me here at United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America, or catch me on social media pages. All of them out there. Kareem Bowen. We endeavor to have interesting conversations, and I think that when we talk about the intersectionality of race and religion, it becomes an important one, because we have to lead by love, and faith and grace have to be the principal things. Thank you guys for tuning in this week. We want to say thank you, and as always, take care of yourselves and each other. Grace and peace.